Let's be honest. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much we plan, unexpected challenges will come our way. Rejection, failure, loss, uncertainty. Most people crumble under the weight of adversity because they were never trained to handle it. But what if I told you there's a way to become mentally unshakable? A way to develop emotional control, inner strength, and unbreakable resilience, no matter what life throws at you? The answer lies in ancient wisdom. Thousands of years ago, a Roman philosopher named Seneca discovered the key to overcoming obstacles, mastering emotions, and thriving under pressure. And today, we're going to break down 6 life-changing lessons from Seneca that will show you how to develop an unstoppable mindset. These lessons aren't just theories. They are practical, battle-tested principles that have helped some of the most successful people in history build mental toughness. By the end of this video, you'll have a blueprint for resilience, a mindset shift that will help you handle stress, face challenges with confidence, and take control of your life like never before. But here's the catch. Most people will hear these lessons and do nothing. They'll continue reacting emotionally, fearing failure, and letting circumstances dictate their lives. But that's not going to be you. If you're here, it means you're ready to take your personal growth to the next level. It means you're ready to develop the kind of mental resilience that separates the weak from the strong. So, if you're serious about mastering your mind, let's dive into the first lesson, understanding what's within your control and letting go of what's not. This simple but powerful shift will change the way you approach life forever. Let's get started. Lesson 1. Control what you can, accept what you cannot. Life has a way of throwing curveballs at us. We strive for stability, but uncertainty lurks around every corner. A missed opportunity, a sudden betrayal, an unexpected loss. These moments test our mental resilience. But here's a fundamental truth. Not everything is within our control. And the sooner we accept that, the stronger we become. This is where Seneca's wisdom on control and acceptance comes into play. He taught that the key to mental toughness is recognizing the difference between what's within our power and what isn't. The modern world, full of stress, distractions, and unpredictable events, makes this lesson more relevant than ever. If we try to control everything, we suffer needlessly. But if we focus our energy on what we can influence, we reclaim our power. Seneca often emphasized that fate and agency coexist. While some things in life are predetermined, death, the past, the actions of others, our responses are within our grasp. He believed that the wise person does not rail against fate, but aligns their mindset with it. Think about a storm. You can't stop the wind from howling or the rain from pouring, but you can take shelter. You can prepare. You can decide how you respond. In every setback, we have a choice. Waste energy resisting the inevitable, or shift our focus to where we still have agency. This is the very essence of Stoic philosophy, mastering the ability to differentiate between what's changeable and what isn't. How does this apply to modern life? Imagine someone applying for their dream job. They pour in hours of effort, crafting the perfect resume, rehearsing every possible interview question. But in the end, they don't get the position. If they fixate on the rejection, they'll spiral into frustration. But if they shift their focus to what they can control, acquiring new skills, networking, or preparing for the next opportunity, they maintain their mental resilience. The same applies to relationships. Not everyone will treat us fairly. Not everyone will respect our values. But clinging to the hope of changing another person's behavior only leads to disappointment. Instead, focusing on our own reactions, boundaries, and self-worth is the path to emotional stability. This principle is crucial in handling emotions. When something upsets us, the Stoic mindset reminds us to step back and assess. Is this within my control? If not, Why let it consume me? This isn't about passivity. It's about self-mastery. It's about conserving our mental energy for things that actually matter. How many times have we let a minor inconvenience, a traffic jam, a rude comment, a delayed flight, ruin an entire day? The problem is not the event, but our attachment to control. Once we detach from what we cannot influence, stress loses its grip on us. A powerful way to internalize this philosophy is through the circle of control exercise. Imagine drawing two circles, one small, inside a larger one. The inner circle contains everything within your influence: your thoughts, decisions, habits, and responses. The outer circle represents things outside your control: other people's opinions, the economy, global crises. Every time you feel overwhelmed, visualize these circles. Ask yourself, am I focusing on the right one? The more we train our minds to operate within the inner circle, the less emotional energy we waste on external chaos. This practice is a shortcut to psychological resilience. Let's apply this to stress management. Many people let anxiety consume them over things they can't change. Politics, the opinions of strangers, the passage of time. But what happens when we focus on what's actionable? We reclaim our peace. A student worrying about an exam can either stress endlessly or focus on what's in their hands, studying, practicing, and sleeping well. Someone struggling in business can either panic about market trends or refine their strategy. This shift in focus determines whether we succumb to adversity or thrive under pressure. Seneca warned against the habit of borrowing trouble from the future, worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. Modern psychology echoes this. Studies show that excessive worry is linked to poor mental resilience. The Stoic mindset isn't about ignoring problems. It's about facing them with a sense of calm and control. When we understand that not everything is ours to control, we experience true emotional freedom. This approach extends to personal growth. Every minute spent complaining about things we cannot change is a minute lost. Every moment wasted dwelling on the past is a moment stolen from building the future. Imagine what would happen if we redirected all that mental energy towards self-improvement, inner strength, and developing resilience. Instead of worrying about how others treat us, we could work on how we respond. Instead of fearing failure, we could embrace the challenge and refine our skills. This mindset shift is the core of self-discipline. Of course, this doesn't mean we should become indifferent. Stoicism in modern life is not about apathy. It's about prioritization. It's about focusing where it counts. Wisdom is knowing where to fight and where to let go. A great example of this is Marcus Aurelius, another famous Stoic, who ruled Rome during plagues, wars, and betrayals. He didn't waste energy cursing fate. Instead, he directed his energy toward governing justly, making strategic decisions, and refining his character. At its heart, mental toughness is about acceptance. This might sound counterintuitive, but true strength comes from understanding limits. By embracing the idea that some things will always remain outside our control, we paradoxically become more powerful. This acceptance fosters emotional mastery. It shields us from unnecessary suffering. The more we train this mindset, the more we develop an unstoppable resilience. Now, imagine navigating life with this approach. No more wasted energy on things outside your grasp. No more frustration over uncontrollable events. No more emotional spirals over things that don't deserve your peace. How much calmer, more productive, and more focused would you be? The answer is clear. And that leads us to the next lesson: how voluntary discomfort can strengthen our minds and prepare us for any hardship that comes our way. If we only operate within our comfort zones, we weaken our ability to overcome obstacles. But by training discomfort, We fortify ourselves against adversity. Seneca himself believed that resilience is built, not given, and the best way to develop it is to face controlled hardships. Let's explore this deeper. Lesson 2. Harness the power of voluntary discomfort. Comfort is seductive. It whispers promises of ease, security, and stability. It makes life feel effortless, smooth, and predictable. But here's the paradox. Excessive comfort weakens the mind. When life is too easy, we become fragile. We lose our mental toughness. We expect things to go our way, and when they don't, we crumble. Instead of adapting, we complain. Instead of enduring, we give up. And worst of all, we become terrified of discomfort because we've never trained ourselves to handle it. This is why Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, practiced voluntary discomfort. He knew that adversity is inevitable, so instead of waiting for hardship to strike, he trained for it. He conditioned his mind and body to endure discomfort so that when real challenges arrived, he would be unshaken. He understood that mental resilience isn't something we magically develop in times of crisis. It's something we must cultivate daily. Imagine a warrior who only trains in times of war. He is doomed to fail. The strongest warriors train in times of peace so that when the battle comes, they are ready. This is the Stoic mindset. The more we expose ourselves to controlled hardship, the less we fear life's unpredictability. We become adaptable, unshakable, and strong. Seneca didn't just talk about this, he lived it. He would deliberately sleep on the ground instead of his comfortable bed. He would wear simple, rough clothing and eat plain meals, even though he was wealthy. Why? To remind himself that he could endure less than ideal conditions. He wanted to prove to himself that comfort is not a necessity, that he could lose everything and still be self-sufficient and mentally strong. Now, let's fast forward to modern times. Today, we live in a world of unlimited convenience. Food is delivered to our doorstep, entertainment is at our fingertips, and we rarely experience hunger, exhaustion, or discomfort. We wake up in climate-controlled rooms, we press a button to get what we want, and we barely need to lift a finger to meet our basic needs. But here's the problem. This overabundance of ease has led to a weaker mindset. The moment something is difficult, people quit. The moment they feel uncomfortable, they retreat. Resilience has been replaced by entitlement. The idea of enduring discomfort, even temporarily, seems unnecessary, even cruel. But what if, instead of avoiding discomfort, we embraced it? What if we used intentional hardship as a tool for resilience training, rewiring your mind through discomfort? Take cold showers, for example. Most people avoid them because they're unpleasant. But that's exactly why they're powerful. Stepping into cold water forces you to control your mind instead of your instincts. It teaches you to breathe through discomfort, to handle stress without panic, and to prove to yourself that you're in charge, not your impulses. The same applies to fasting. Skipping meals for a set period makes you realize that hunger is not an emergency. It builds self-discipline and mental resilience. You no longer become a slave to cravings or emotional eating. You start to see food as fuel rather than a source of comfort. You break free from impulsive consumption. Then there's the challenge of reducing material attachments. We are conditioned to think that we need the latest gadgets, designer clothes, or luxurious experiences to be happy. But when we practice voluntary simplicity, we break free from this illusion. Try it for a week. Live with less. Wear the same clothes multiple days in a row. Avoid unnecessary spending. Eat simple meals. You will quickly realize that happiness isn't found in excess, but in self-mastery. The Stoic discomfort experiment. This is why the Stoic discomfort experiment is so powerful. For 3 days, challenge yourself with controlled hardship. Start with small discomforts. 1. Day 1. Take a cold shower. 2. Day 2. Skip a meal, unless medically necessary. 3. Day 3. Avoid unnecessary luxuries. No TV, no social media, no junk food. It might sound minor, but these experiences rewire your brain. They make you realize that you are stronger than your cravings, tougher than your instincts, and more resilient than your discomfort. Over time, this mindset shift expands into every area of life. You'll notice that challenges that once seemed unbearable no longer faze you. Preparing for the unexpected. Another reason voluntary discomfort is so important is that it prepares you for the unexpected difficulties of life. No one is immune to hardship. We will all face moments of financial struggle, heartbreak, loss, and failure. The question is, will you be ready? Those who have never trained their minds to endure discomfort collapse under pressure. But those who have deliberately tested their limits respond with strength. They know they can survive because they have already practiced survival. They don't panic in the face of adversity. They face it with calm and control. The link between discomfort and mental strength. This is what builds emotional resilience. Think about athletes. They train under extreme conditions, not because they love suffering, but because they know that in the real game, they will need that endurance. Mental resilience works the same way. If you expose yourself to small discomforts, you condition your mind to withstand bigger struggles. You train yourself to face challenges head-on instead of running from them. The life-changing mindset shift. Now, imagine applying this philosophy to your daily life. What if you started embracing small hardships instead of avoiding them? What if you saw obstacles as opportunities to grow rather than things to fear? How much stronger would you be? This is exactly what Stoicism in modern life is all about. It's not just an abstract philosophy, it's a training ground for mental toughness. It's a call to step outside of comfort, to face resistance, to push yourself beyond limits. And that brings us to the next lesson. Detaching from emotional reactivity. If you've ever felt like your emotions control you, rather than the other way around, this next principle is going to change the way you see yourself and the world around you. Let's dive in. Lesson 3. Detach from emotional reactivity. Emotions are powerful. They can fuel our passions, inspire creativity, and strengthen our relationships. They give life its depth, its color, and its meaning. But left unchecked, they can also cloud our judgment, lead to impulsive decisions, and weaken our mental resilience. One of the core principles of Stoic philosophy is learning to control our emotions rather than allowing them to control us. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, it means mastering them. Seneca believed that the ability to detach from emotional reactivity was essential to living a balanced and rational life. Why is this important? Because in moments of emotional intensity, we often lose sight of logic and wisdom. We make decisions that we later regret. We say things in anger that we can't take back. We let temporary feelings create permanent consequences. But here's the truth. Emotions are like passing storms. They feel overwhelming in the moment, but they don't last forever. Just like a sailor doesn't try to stop the wind, but instead learns how to navigate through it, we must learn how to navigate our emotions rather than being tossed around by them. The power of the pause. How often have we reacted in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later? Maybe we snapped at someone out of frustration, said something we didn't mean, or made a rash decision because of anger or fear. These reactions don't come from clarity or strength. They come from impulsivity. One of the most effective ways to regain control is through pausing before reacting. When something upsets us, our instinct is to react immediately. But if we take even a few seconds to breathe and assess the situation, we gain control over our response. Imagine you receive a harsh email from a coworker. Your first reaction might be to fire back with an equally aggressive reply. But if you step back, take a deep breath, and wait before responding, you might realize that reacting with anger would only escalate the situation. Instead, you choose a calm, calculated response, one that protects your peace and maintains your self-discipline. This simple act of pausing can change everything. It allows you to separate yourself from the intensity of the moment, to step into a space of reason and awareness before making a choice. And when you do this consistently, you rewire your brain to become less reactive over time. Emotional mastery, the key to resilience. Seneca understood that emotional intelligence is the foundation of resilience. He believed that those who could separate themselves from their emotions could face adversity with clarity and strength. This is why journaling was such a critical practice for him. By writing down his thoughts, he could analyze his emotions objectively, rather than being consumed by them. Today, modern psychology supports this idea. Studies show that journaling helps with stress management, emotional stability, and self-awareness. When you put your emotions into words, they lose their power over you. Instead of being something overwhelming and uncontrollable, they become something you can examine, understand, and manage. A powerful exercise to develop emotional control is the pause and reframe technique. The next time something triggers an intense emotional response, follow these 3 steps. 1. Pause. Before reacting, take 3 deep breaths and create space between stimulus and response. 2. Reframe. Ask yourself, is my reaction going to improve or worsen the situation? Shift your perspective. 3. Respond intentionally. Instead of acting on impulse, choose a response that aligns with your inner strength and long-term goals. This technique isn't about ignoring emotions, it's about mastering them. Imagine how different life would be if, instead of reacting out of frustration, we responded with calmness and clarity. Think of the greatest leaders in history. The ones who inspire us are those who remain steady in times of crisis, who don't let emotions dictate their actions. That level of self-mastery is within your reach. The power of self-reflection. Another way to build mental resilience in the face of emotional turbulence is through self-reflection. Seneca encouraged daily self-examination. He would ask himself, did I let my emotions get the best of me today? Did I respond wisely or react impulsively? What can I do differently tomorrow? By making this a habit, we start noticing patterns in our behavior. We see where we lose control and where we remain strong. Over time, this practice transforms us. We become less reactive, more composed, and more in control of our own minds. And here's something crucial. Detachment from emotional reactivity doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean becoming emotionless or indifferent. It means that we respond to emotions with wisdom rather than impulsivity. It means we don't allow fleeting feelings to dictate our decisions. It means we approach life with rationality, clarity, and inner peace. When we practice this level of emotional control, we stop taking things personally. We stop allowing external events to dictate our internal state. We stop being at the mercy of our moods and reactions. Instead, we gain the power to navigate life's difficulties with a steady and unshakable mindset, breaking free from emotional triggers. Most of the time, our emotional reactions aren't about the situation itself. They are about our own unresolved issues. If someone criticizes you and you react with rage, it's not necessarily about their words. It might be about deep-seated insecurities. If you feel overwhelming anxiety in a difficult conversation, it's likely connected to past fears of rejection or failure. This is why self-awareness is key. When we begin to examine the root of our reactions, we take back control over our emotions. Instead of being triggered by everything around us, we start to develop inner stability. Now, imagine a life where you are no longer pushed around by emotions. A life where anger, fear, and frustration no longer dictate your choices. A life where you can face difficult situations with calm, clarity, and power. That is the essence of Stoic emotional mastery. And that brings us to our next lesson, redefining failure and adversity. Because if we can control our emotions, we can also reshape how we see failure itself. Let's dive in. Lesson 4. Redefining failure and adversity. Failure. It's a word that most people fear. It carries a stigma, shame, disappointment, inadequacy. But what if we've been looking at failure the wrong way? What if failure isn't a dead end, but a stepping stone? This is one of the most powerful lessons from Seneca's wisdom. Failure is not an enemy, it's a teacher. Those who fear failure avoid risks, stay inside their comfort zones, and never reach their full potential. But those who embrace failure as fuel build an unshakable mental resilience. Seneca viewed adversity as a test of character. He believed that misfortunes are opportunities for growth. Just as a blacksmith tempers steel in fire, life tempers us through struggle. He wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This is the core of Stoic philosophy. Obstacles are not setbacks, they are the path to strength. Imagine an athlete training for competition. If their workouts are easy, they don't improve. It's the intense, painful training sessions that make them stronger. The same applies to life. A key concept in Stoicism that reshapes our view of failure is amor fati, the love of fate. It means embracing everything that happens, good or bad, as a necessary part of your journey. Instead of resisting failure, we learn to appreciate it, study it, and use it to refine ourselves. When we stop seeing adversity as a punishment and start seeing it as training, we remove fear from the equation. History is full of examples of great individuals who used failure as a catalyst for success. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he simply said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." J.K. Rowling, before publishing Harry Potter, was rejected by multiple publishers. If she had let those failures define her, millions would never have read her books. What separates successful people from the rest is not talent, it's resilience. A practical way to redefine failure is through the failure reflection method. Instead of seeing failure as a verdict, treat it as data. After every setback, ask yourself, 1. What can I learn from this? 2. What did this failure expose about my weaknesses? 3. How can I adjust my approach moving forward? By analyzing failures rather than dwelling on them, we turn them into stepping stones for success. This is how we build a strong mindset, not by avoiding hardship, but by learning from it and adapting. This approach transforms how we handle stress and setbacks. If you've ever felt defeated after a failure, remind yourself, this is just training. Every time you get back up, you become stronger. Every setback is a lesson in self-discipline and emotional control. Every hardship is a chance to develop psychological resilience. Now, let's take this further. If failure is a teacher, then what about the ultimate reality that we all must face? Mortality. That's exactly what Seneca teaches in our next lesson. Memento mori, the practice of remembering that life is temporary and using that knowledge to live fearlessly. Let's explore this profound idea. By now, you've learned how control, discomfort, emotional mastery, and failure shape a resilient mind. If this knowledge is valuable to you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Your support helps bring more powerful insights like these. Now, let's continue with the next life-changing lesson. Lesson 5. The Art of Memento Mori. If there's one certainty in life, it's this: we are all going to die. Most people avoid thinking about this reality because it's uncomfortable. But Stoicism in modern life teaches that rather than fearing death, we should use it as a source of power. Seneca believed that remembering our mortality wasn't morbid, it was liberating. It helped him focus on what truly mattered, let go of trivial worries, and live with clarity and purpose. This is the essence of memento mori. Remember, you must die. Why does this concept matter for mental resilience? Because when we confront the brevity of life, we stop wasting time on things that don't serve us. Think about the things that stress you out: arguments, failures, minor inconveniences. Now ask yourself, will this matter in a year? Will it matter on my deathbed? More often than not, the answer is no. That's the power of memento mori. It shifts our perspective. It helps us stop sweating the small stuff and focus on what truly deserves our energy. Seneca wrote extensively about death, not because he was obsessed with it, but because he understood its practical wisdom. He reminded himself daily that every moment could be his last, and rather than making him fearful, this realization made him fearless. He said, "You are afraid of dying. But come now, how is this life of yours anything but death?" In other words, living in fear, avoiding risks, or delaying what matters is no different than already being dead. This idea is empowering. Instead of seeing death as something that limits us, we can see it as something that frees us. We stop procrastinating on our goals. We stop holding grudges. We stop waiting for the right time to chase our dreams. Because the right time is now. A practical way to incorporate memento mori into daily life is through the memento mori visualization. Try this. 1. Every morning, remind yourself, today could be my last day. How do I want to live it? 2. Every night, ask yourself, if today had been my last, would I be satisfied with how I spent it? This isn't meant to be depressing. It's meant to be clarifying. It keeps us focused on the big picture. When we internalize this idea, we no longer waste time on resentment, regret, or fear. We start making bold decisions. We start expressing gratitude more often. We start living fully. Seneca also emphasized the importance of making peace with mortality. Many people waste their lives fearing death, yet it is the one thing we all share. The question is, will you let that fear control you, or will you use it as motivation to live deeply and meaningfully? When we stop fearing death, we stop fearing life itself. Now, let's take this one step further. If memento mori teaches us to reflect on life's meaning, how can we apply daily reflection as a practical tool for mental resilience? That's exactly what our next lesson explores: how Seneca's journaling practice can transform your mindset and strengthen your self-awareness. Let's dive in. Lesson 6. Daily reflection as a mental gym. Imagine if, at the end of each day, you took just a few moments to pause and reflect, not to dwell on mistakes or regrets, but to analyze, learn, and grow. This was exactly what Seneca practiced every night, a habit of self-examination that allowed him to refine his thinking, sharpen his character, and develop an unstoppable mindset. He understood that mental resilience isn't built in a single moment. It's trained daily, like a muscle. Many people go through life reacting to circumstances rather than actively shaping themselves. They repeat the same mistakes, let emotions dictate their choices, and wonder why nothing changes. But Stoic philosophy teaches us that self-mastery begins with awareness. You can't improve what you don't examine. That's why daily reflection is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. Seneca would spend time each evening reviewing his thoughts, actions, and emotions. He asked himself, "Did I control my emotions today, or did they control me? Did I focus on what I can control, or did I waste energy on things beyond my reach? Did I align my actions with my values?" These simple but profound questions allowed him to continuously refine himself, to adapt and strengthen his mindset. And here's the best part: you can do the same. One of the best ways to practice this is through the 3-question evening reflection ritual. 1. What did I do well today? Reinforce positive habits. 2. Where did I fall short? Identify areas for improvement without self-judgment. 3. What can I do better tomorrow? Create an action plan for growth. This practice is like a mental gym for resilience training. The more you do it, the more aware you become of your patterns. Over time, you start to see where you react emotionally, where you waste energy, and where you truly grow. And here's something crucial. This isn't about guilt or perfection. It's about progress. Even small adjustments, when made consistently, create massive transformation over time. Imagine how different your life would be if, every single day, you made just a 1% improvement. In a year, that's a 365% growth. This habit also strengthens self-discipline. When you hold yourself accountable each day, you become more intentional about your choices. You start living with greater clarity, focus, and confidence. This is how mental resilience is built, not by avoiding challenges, but by continuously learning from them. And so, as we reach the end of these powerful lessons from Seneca's wisdom, ask yourself, are you willing to take control of your mindset? Are you ready to apply these principles to your life? Because knowledge alone is not enough. Action is what separates those who transform from those who stay the same. At this point, you've learned 6 powerful lessons from Seneca, principles that have stood the test of time and have the potential to completely transform your mindset. You now understand how to focus on what you can control, embrace discomfort, master your emotions, redefine failure, use mortality as motivation, and reflect daily to sharpen your mind. But here's the real question. Will you apply them? Most people consume information, feel inspired for a moment, and then go back to their old habits. But if you truly want to develop unshakable mental resilience, you need to practice these principles daily. You need to put yourself in situations that challenge you. You need to train your mind like a warrior trains for battle. Because the truth is, life will test you. It's not a matter of if, but when. And when that moment comes, will you be prepared? If there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this: you have more power than you think. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are not controlled by emotions. You are not defined by failure. You are in control of your mind, and your mind is in control of your life. So, let me ask you, which of these lessons resonated with you the most? Drop a comment below and share your biggest takeaway. Your perspective might just inspire someone else on their journey to resilience. And if this video brought you value, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Let's spread this knowledge and help more people build mental toughness and emotional mastery. Now, go out there and start applying these lessons. Because at the end of the day, your mindset is your greatest weapon.